Always have an intro.
Got to start with an intro. So, whatever this is, hello.
Hi guys.
We're back. Episode 3.
Polling day.
D-Day for Sunak.
New change.
Yeah, we thought we'd share with you some of our thoughts, and we've both voted today. Get out there. If you haven't done it yet,
Put that X in.
by the time this comes out, you won't be able to vote. So, but anyway, let's have a little recap. Why are we here? What's the concept of this?
Predominantly, and by far predominantly, is politics, which is why it's today, 4th of July. Something else, they think about that over the pond. Here, it's the general election. So, people are going out to vote. You've been drummed in. Even the Sun, of all people. I mean, I need to research how much Rupert Murdoch even owns of the Sun anymore. But now they've backed Labour.
Last minute though, they did it last minute.
Yeah, but
As if that makes a difference.
not really. But that's like Boris Johnson.
And research it, because that's going to bug you. That's going to bug you, the researching bit.
Researching is going to bug me.
So-
and
so
Boris
how much
Johnson
of it?
coming
I'm
in
gonna note that.
in the last barely 48 hours, some sort of cameo role.
No, but the premise of the actual show, why the viewers are tuned in, I'll do that, and then we can get back into what you were talking about. I'll try and keep us a little bit on track, because I think we've got some feedback from some of the viewers and listeners that we're bouncing about a little bit, so we'll try and keep it on point. But the concept of the show is me and my good friend here, Gary, hello, are best buds. We've been friends for longer than we care to remember. That's not true. We're very happy about our friendship. And
But it is a long time.
It's a very long time. And I think when we were younger, we probably shared very similar ideas. In fact, I think we've almost done a bit of a pivot, but we'll come on to that in a different way.
I'd agree with that.
But our sort of political ideologies are quite far apart. We have very different views and thoughts.
Yeah.
On politics, but overall we're best mates, and in life in general we share many of the same values, and we've always found it interesting that we've got these differing views on politics, yet we're best mates. And I think the concept behind the show is that if we can get along and are able to have arguments or disagreements about certain things,
Which we do, so
all the time, but still are able also to hear each other out and share each other's perspectives.
Yep.
If the rest of the world was like that, then it would be a better place, I think.
I agree with that. Because all you see is, it's like-minded, and this table is like-minded, people like-minded in what area?
Yeah.
Like,
And I think this is going to become more and more prevalent with the rise of the far right in Europe and a lot of other big political changes. So that's what it is. And we're talking to you today live on polling day. We've both voted, needless to say, I think for different parties. And yeah, we'll come back to what you were saying. It looks like small C, big C, little C.
mate, I had a bit of cramp. Don't worry about it.
It looks like if all of the polls are to be followed, it looks like it's going to be a Labour landslide. I wouldn't count any chickens if you're a Labour supporter, but it does look like, and I think rightly so, we kick the Conservatives out of power, because we've had 14 years of absolute chaos, a rise in taxes, just an endless destruction of the individual's rights, law breaking, Partygate, lies, and again, actually, I'm going to bring this all around to the bit that you started on. We had, and I think it was Starmer, who mentioned how the and I think one of the things we should talk about today, because it's on the polling day, is the general approach that both the main parties, we'll talk about some of the smaller parties, but the main parties have had to campaigning. Because you were talking about Rishi bringing out Boris, and you were talking about Labour, the Sun finally back in Labour, and Starmer said it very well. I think he said the whole campaign that the Tories have run has been representative of what their whole 14 years under their power have been. It's been desperate. I think Sunak originally started campaigning with Cameron. At one point, he's been enacting Liz Truss's policies, which crashed crashed the UK economy, and
some of her policies, but yeah,
well, a significant amount of the policies. And at the very last minute, they brought out the clown that is Boris Johnson.
Well, some people call him a clown. Yeah,
yeah,
enigmatic, but yeah.
I appreciate that what a master politician he has been, but he is also a charlatan and a liar and an absolute crook of a man.
That's what some people believe. Yeah.
Right. It just shows the desperation. I think the desperation from the Conservative
Party.
It's
just going to show what he achieved versus what Sunak's going to achieve.
Okay, what did he achieve? All right, let's get into it. What did he achieve?
I'm talking about in 2019 election, before COVID kicked in.
What did he achieve?
Okay, you weren't in a cave at the time. You had 368 seats, 368 seats.
Yeah, okay. So he won the election, but that's not actually an achievement. I think this is
quite an achievement. But versus what Theresa May did 2 years previous to that.
Agreed.
Where she then had to cozy up to the DUP, of all people. The hardline, anti-abortion nutbags out of Northern Ireland. The fact you've got to get in bed with those versus her just strong and stable, over and over again. And then what he achieved just 2 years later, though. That's 2 years. It's not that long, really, is it?
But winning the election is okay. Yes, it's an achievement for the party. But what people want to see, and I think this is why there's such a significant change coming, is what did they achieve in government? And we've had 14 years of government.
That's my biggest point. Is because, yes, I know, but by the time 2019 came by, it wasn't 14 years then. And they still got that massive majority, and a lot of that was behind the Brexit thing, and then COVID kicked in, and people just dismiss COVID like, I don't know, they just seem to forget about it, like, it didn't affect anything. Affected everything, not just here, around the world, and I think he achieved that, and people can about it's, like I said, 14 years, but it's 2019.
Achieved what, though?
A big, massive majority in Parliament. That means the people put X's in the box for the Conservatives.
That wins power, but then it's the true sign of a political party is what you do with the party.
After. So what happened after that was COVID kicked in, and then everyone bounced on Boris Johnson for these so-called parties.
Not so.
That are gone about. Not when your government, your people are allowed to be at work and they're having a drink at work. And you come in and go, cheers everyone, thanks for working very hard. Caption in time is this. Just this. And that's it. That's all over the papers. There's Boris drinking, having fun, doing all this. They're just working, having a drink. He's come in, thanks for working very hard everyone. And that's the picture. There's only one picture of him doing that. And that's that same picture that keeps getting circulated over and over again. And that's a party.
But they
who
also
are these people that have parties?
A good government uses a situation or acts powerfully and correctly in times of a crisis. The Conservative Party did not. They were out partying, and they weren't supporting the NHS. In fact, let me finish. Rishi's I could see your little response. Rishi initiated the Eat Out to Help Out policy against medical advice to supposedly save the economy, but also put millions of people at risk.
Why are they at risk? Because COVID only affected people I know have had COVID, and it was just quite bad. And it's almost like a cold. I'm not saying it's just the flu or anything like that. The people who need to be isolated were the elderly, so people like in care homes, stuff like that, and people with respiratory problems or anything with autoimmune problems. They were the ones that need to be protected as such, not the general population just shielding everyone away. Eating Out to Help Out was, oh, that's fine, the medical profession saying this because they're at work getting paid saying this. The people that aren't at work getting paid, but the people that in the hospitality and restaurants and things like that. So someone in the medical profession goes, no, I don't think you should be doing that. Okay, that's fine. You're already at work. You're getting paid for saying that. I'm now at home hoping that I'm getting a handout from the government. I need to be at work. So Eat Out to Help Out actually helped me out. I've spent a little bit extra for my family, if that's all right. And it didn't affect that many people when you really think about it. Not in numbers.
We don't know
numbers.
that for sure. And I think one of the big issues, or the things that I have an issue with, is the whole Conservative approach throughout the pandemic, where you had the likes of Dominic Cummings, who had the Bernard Castle excuse. There was one rule for one.
That's him.
And
he's not a
one rule
Conservative
for others.
MP.
He was very much at that time. He was protected and part of that Conservative bubble.
But he's not a Conservative MP.
You had Matt Hancock, who was off doing bits with his help and having affairs, while other people.
That affects how he does his job. Just because he's having an affair, how is he doing his job?
Again, it's this example of how the Tories were telling you one thing and doing another, and we had. I mean,
but
Boris went missing. Boris went missing
Tory.
for a long period of time during that as well. During when there was the Cobra meetings, he went off to Chequers and had a little party. Look, I think we started this. Episode or this show.
This is what people do.
Talking about the polling day, and we've got straight back into...
But this is what people do, isn't it? How's this any different to Have I Got News for You? Do you know what I mean? The anti-Tory
it's not quite as funny.
campaign.
It's not as funny.
Well, yeah, their writers help them out a bit, but it's basically the Liberal Democrat that is Ian Hislop just constantly slagging Boris off. That's basically the show. And
it's a good show, and there's a lot. He's got a lot of material.
It was okay.
To work with.
Yeah, he's got a lot of writers, and it's basically slagging off Boris Johnson, and every so often, Paul Merton laughing.
Okay, let's try and I'm going to try and bring us back and be a little bit focused on. Let's be fairly topical because it's polling day.
One thing I just want to say is, no one else in history has had to govern or manage a COVID situation before.
Oh my god, that's such a bad excuse.
It's not, because hindsight is great, isn't it? You can go, you should have done this, should have done that. You shouldn't use these people to get your PPE. Should use these. You shouldn't have paid them this just because they're your mates.
Churchill wasn't complaining about that during the war.
Because it wasn't COVID. It was war.
But
it was actual bombs being dropped, not you might cough yourself into hysteria.
Exactly, it was a much harder scenario to navigate.
The two aren't comparable by any means whatsoever.
Who was in charge when the plague was going on?
Which plague? The Black Death?
Yeah, the plague.
There's been a couple of plagues over the years. The last ones are like in the Middle Ages.
Okay, who's in charge?
I'm not sure.
Exactly.
Exact name?
Exactly.
And there you go, there's your answer. That's how Labour voters think. Say something from 800 years ago. If you don't immediately know the answer, that's why I vote Labour. Sterling stuff.
No, I think that's a convenient excuse, and just because it hadn't happened before, that's an opportunity for a really good party to lead by example. And you can't deny that you had this whole the Tories were just siphoning off money to all of their mates. If you look at all of those PPE contracts, they've gone to all of the major donors. I saw a stat recently, and I'm not going to be precise on the numbers here. My learned friend could probably check it, but won't, because it's an attack on the Tories.
It's not overly how I operate.
But there's a clear pattern. I think it was something like Tory party donors donated £58 million to the Tory party, and Tory party donors have been awarded, surprise, surprise, £850 million of contracts.
And even some of the Tory haters or critics, as also known, understood that at the time no one knew what was going on. People just know they needed PPE to get out there, and whether you ordered it to your mate or someone you didn't know, the equipment was needed there and then. How it was tested that came later, hindsight again. They just needed it out
But
there
isn't that-
because NHS and other people needed it in the care homes. They needed it everywhere. So let's just get it and worry about who we paid later.
But it wasn't good enough. The stuff that the equipment that they were
Yeah, it wasn't good
providing
enough.
wasn't good enough.
Yes,
it
but they didn't know
wasn't
that.
fit for purpose.
They didn't know that at the time.
But that's big. But isn't that, and this is, without going into point scoring, I think, look, we've got different views on this.
But
My gut feeling is that you're just saying this because it's Tories.
No,
We've
because
covered
you
some
need
of
time
that.
to test stuff,
But that's
and
what
time
the-
is what we didn't have.
But that's what the government is there to implement, a process that allows you to test
Okay.
stuff effectively. And are they learning from that?
You
We-
test stuff effectively. How do you know how effective it is without testing it first? If they say we bought this PPE, but we need 2 months to test it, and then people go, "Oh no, we need this now."
It's not. It's
But
not.
it's okay to
not
say
that.
it now. It's easy to say it now.
But it's not about testing the stuff. It's putting in
course it
place.
is.
No, wait. It's putting in place a proper process or a contract that facilitates either a clawback for money that was donated or awarded if the products aren't fit for purpose. Ultimately, the government is just a business. It's the biggest business in the UK. It has a huge budget to spend, and it should be spending that effectively. And with the right processes and policies in place, but they're clear. The track record is appalling. Look at H2, the train line.
HS2,
HS2. Thank you. The train line. It's cost billions of pounds, and they've binned it.
There've been certain parts of it. There've been
The
entire
main
products.
part that takes it to the bit that it was meant to do.
A certain section of it, yeah. And I disagree with that.
Waste.
They shouldn't have binned it.
Hold on a second. Guys, can you just... Is everybody out there sitting down? I think there's a policy or an act or a decision that the Tory parties
Shouldn't have
made.
binned it.
They shouldn't have been... Oh my God.
No, they shouldn't have binned it.
Okay, good. This
Because
is
eventually it will pay off. But you got your... Shouldn't burst through ancient woodland, sorry, and everything else that goes with that for an extra 20 minutes. But then when you're in a business, you need to get somewhere, the extra 20 minutes can be quite vital sometimes. So I don't think they should have binned it. Just to put it back into local services, which should have investment anyway, bearing in mind they are independent private companies who fund themselves. It's not, the government doesn't control what individual companies do. It's not British Rail anymore. People think that the government owns and controls all of the train companies. They control themselves. But HS2 was the infrastructure, and they shouldn't have backed out on the northern part of it. Birmingham to Manchester. Then Manchester to York. Should have kept that. I disagree with that one. Definitely should have kept it.
I'm almost dumbstruck with silence in the fact that you have acknowledged that. Good. Okay. Look, I think we'll see once, and assuming that Labour do take power, that it's a lot easier to be in opposition and say what you should and shouldn't do.
Easiest.
I don't dispute that, but I
The
don't.
easiest.
I think, hand on heart, I don't think anybody is in a better position after 14 years of Tory government. The only things that they can, and one of the things I'd like us to cover in the time that we have remaining is the campaign itself, which I don't think Labour have done anything particularly revolutionary in their approach, but they haven't dropped the ball, and Conservatives have.
With the public, you don't need to really do anything when everyone else is telling you that someone else is so bad. The other people, Labour, don't really have to do that much. They don't have to do anything stupid, like have an MP arrested for something dodgy, or just got to keep going because the media's already against the current government. And like I said before with you many times, people going about 14 years Conservatives, which some of that was in a coalition. There's been 25 years of pure, unfiltered Labour government in Wales, and they've gone from bad to worse with a whole host of all the problems you keep mentioning here with train services and NHS. Wales has just gone downhill past 25 years, just a nice steady, no cliff edge, just a nice steady downhill pace, and that's 25 years. And people are wetting their pants over 14 years with COVID in between that time, and I will always go on about that. But 25 years of a Labour government in a country, Labour in effect, and it's their budget, have been running the country for 25 years and it's only gone downhill. And that doesn't seem to be talked about anywhere, which is odd to me.
It'll be interesting to see how Wales votes and what happens there, and whether Labour gets more power and gets to continue sort of governing in that area. I do think that Wales has been disproportionately affected by the Brexit vote. I know that Wales and lots of areas in Wales are some of the poorest in the UK, and have been for a while.
It's heavy on mining and
they've got old school traditional
Industry.
industries, and I understand and I know from following the Brexit stuff, a lot of the European Union was investing significantly in the infrastructure and supporting certain areas of Wales, which I think obviously just stopped happening after Brexit. So it'd be interesting to look at the impact of that as well.
We'll have to research that, because you've got to think how much you paid in order to get it back. So,
what does that mean?
You say they invested significantly, and we've also invested significant amounts of money into the EU, so you're going to ask for something back. And the fact that they're funding something shouldn't be like a massive thank you. That's the whole point of the EU.
Yeah, I get that, but
you put in money, you get a little bit back.
And I'm sure we can have and we will have a whole episode. I think it was one of the things we didn't cover in our last flip chart. You can't see the flip chart. We didn't cover Brexit. We could do a whole one, because that still isn't.
Has to be a whole one.
I think we're only just starting to see the fallout from Brexit, but it shouldn't be down to. The point is that it shouldn't be down to an external body, i.e. the European Union, to invest in underdeveloped and invested areas of the UK. It should be down to the actual government itself, which they haven't been doing. And Conservative Party have traditionally neglected areas, as demonstrated by HS2 and the cancellation of that.
Yeah.
Wales and a lot of the north of England.
But if you previously said about Wales and investment, it would be down to the Labour government or Labour to invest in there, because they had control of that area.
Yeah,
So you can't say, the EU did this. Then what were Labour doing in Wales? Because they're the one in control of the budget. They're the one completely in control. Westminster wasn't doing anything because they own that area.
We're going to have to do a couple of fact checks on this, and we'll put it in the show notes. We could do some of the check-in now, but we'll follow up with it. Again, I'm going to shout out to the readers and listeners. So if you've got any questions and there's any particular points or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, at us, and we'll make sure that we cover them off. Okay, we've got a few minutes left, and we want to try and make it punchy. Why don't we do a mini little prediction? This is very much on the spot, but I think we're going to have a very, very short honeymoon period for the Labour government, presuming they win.
Don't matter, they're still in.
But I think there's going to be quite a lot of there'll be a little bit of a swan song, or a little bit of a moment where everybody's happy, and I think we'll see the British economy be stimulated off the back of it. Those are my
people
predictions.
will be happy about David Lammy in a position of power. No, there's not much more needs to be said.
And there are other parties that I think deserve a bigger input and should have more of a say in Parliament. And I think we're going to see a new Parliament. There's lots of the rats are leaving the sinking ship. So we're seeing a lot of turnover, even in the Tory party, particularly in the Tory party, with some significant members
That's what
standing
happens when
down.
you don't listen to your voters. Tory membership.
Yeah.
Ian Brady just disregarded the vote. Went with Sunak. Here we are.
Who do you think is going to be the new... We're making a big assumption here, but barring a miracle, I think it's a Labour majority is going to be in place, which is good, I think, for the country.
You heard it here.
Who do you think will be the next Tory leader?
My money, which I don't have, will be on Penny Mordaunt. Just because of how strong she is in debates, and apart from her oddly being in line with Starmer along the 99.9% of women don't have penises line, Just goes against basic biology. Apart from that, I think it'd be her.
Interesting. I can't call it. I don't think it will be her. I'd be quite happy if it was, because I don't particularly rate her based on some of the bits that I've seen of her in Parliament, and particularly one of her performance on the BBC debate, where she had a bit of a to and fro with Angela Rayner.
No, don't. There we go.
We covered that.
I knew you'd mention it.
It was bad. They didn't. Neither of them came out particularly well. I have a huge amount of respect for both of them.
You can't have a load of respect for Angela Rayner.
I think we covered this briefly in the previous episode. I think any female MPs and any MPs with ethnic minority background have a slightly harder time and get a lot of abuse for being in politics.
A lot of abuse, but
this show is not designed. This episode or whatever this is not designed for that. We're just trying to be observant and put across our own views and share what maybe the main man, woman, or other might think. But I think they have a tough time. I don't think it would be Penny. I think it would be somebody else. I haven't got a clue. What's Kemi?
Yeah, Kemi, or I just think it'd be Penny.
First scandal, first Labour scandal, or first Labour MP that might be involved in some form of.
It's hard to tell. They haven't dug anything up already. They'll either have it and then waiting. Cause
they've already had a go at Angela Rayner. I think
you can't not have a go at her. She was only brought back in when Labour were way up in the polls. Then it didn't really matter what she said. She's so dumb, it's unbelievable.
Oh, she's not.
But she's absolute. She's not. I mean, I don't want to say things like she should work in Greggs, because it's degrading to people working Greggs. I'm just trying to say it as what people think about Greggs. Greggs is lovely. I love Greggs. I eat there. But what people say about Poundland or Greggs or something like that, people are lovely. But what you're trying to impose that's where Angela Rayner is.
No, she's bright. She's smart. She's sharp.
Smart.
She's had quite a few of the Conservative MPs.
Who?
For toast.
No one. No, she has not. She can't talk anyone under the table when it comes to actual things.
And I think people relate to her because she's normal. She's normal.
Yeah, dumb people. Yeah, stupid people can relate to her. Not that difficult. I also fart on occasions. Don't feel the need to mention it. So now I've got 1 million followers. Cheers, people. Thanks for voting again. That's the sort of people we're dealing with.
I think there's the soundbite, by the way. That's going to be on our socials. I think we could get you a little placard with it. I also fart, by the way.
Yeah. Get on a t-shirt.
Pull down your...
That's Angela Rayner.
Brilliant. Right. Let's wrap it up because it's gone by in a flash. It's been a good episode. Here's to a powerful future Labour government that's going to implement change and do better for everybody else. I think I'm excited. I'm very excited about Angela Rayner's policy.
Mate,
what
am I supposed to say with that? Yeah. Let's end homelessness. It's been around since there's been humans, but let's end it.
I'm excited to see a Labour Party that actually might make some change. I still think there are some issues.
To 08.
I still think there are some issues,
years.
By the way, with the Labour Party and and all of the parties in general not addressing Brexit. We have to rejoin the EU in some way.
Nothing to address. We
had a single market.
It's done.
And I also think we've got to have a different approach to Palestine and Gaza, but tune in, maybe we'll cover that in another episode.
Jeez, that is a separate, again, that's Brexit.
That's a whole can of worms.
Then there's another one.
Drop us a comment, let us know what you want to hear next time. I've been Michael, he's been Gary.
That's me.
Until next week, it's us. So whatever this was.
So whatever this is.